everybody, it's Monday, November 25th, 2024. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Show presented by Uber Eats. Get game day deals all season long. It's me, your man, MG Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and Laquan Jones. We got our Thanksgiving menu all worked out. I assumed you. I'm making assumptions on behalf of you guys. I assume you have your Thanksgiving menus all worked out, correct?
Went shopping on Saturday for it.
There you go.
I got the turkey. I guess that counts. I didn't get the macaroni and cheese because I've been getting attacked all week in the comments. So it's like, I like macaroni and cheese. I just
at my house.
Overrated.
Turkey's overrated.
Yeah, he's not even a turkey guy.
I mean, look, turkey is fine, but yeah, like getting a whole turkey and cooking it, it's a lot more work than you want to do. Like otherwise, just like sliced deli turkey. That's kind of the extent of my turkey.
Mike doesn't like turkey, from what I'm told. You don't like it?
I like turkey. It's like bottom barrel meat, though, I would say. Like, We're going ham instead and doing like a baked ziti because those are both infinitely better foods than a whole turkey.
That's fair. That's fair. I would also suggest, though,
bad takes food rankings. Can we get that? Like, come on.
I mean, that's kind of up there. We'll have to put together a food rankings, a bad food takes ranking at some point in the offseason.
People would defend mac and cheese over turkey any day of the week.
That's probably
There's
true.
nothing wrong with mac and cheese. I just think it's overrated for Thanksgiving.
I had no idea. I honestly, I'm sorry that I have opened this can of worms. I didn't know we were going to get into this. I would say turkey leg, though. If you don't want to cook a whole turkey, just buy a turkey leg, and that's going to be good enough for a couple of people. Anyway, we got a lot to get into today. We got our biggest takeaways from Week 12. We'll have the waiver wire as well. And Laquan, that is a nice head of black hair you have. Would be a shame if something happened to it. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the show as well. But let's start with some fantasy headlines. And not a ton of headlines. You have some kind of smaller injuries that we'll be monitoring as the week goes along. But one of the bigger ones, Gardner Minshew, is now out for the rest of the year. He suffered a broken collarbone in the Raiders' loss to the Denver Broncos on Sunday. It looks like Aiden O'Connell possibly could be back. Yesterday, it was Desmond Ridder that took over the rest of the way for the Raiders. So, I mean, Florio, look, we've all been in on Brock Bowers. He's been fantastic. I know you have been a big Jacoby Myers proponent over the last couple of weeks. If it's AOC, if it's Desmond Ridder, how are we feeling about the primary pass catchers in Vegas?
Anytime, especially this late in the season, you have a change at play caller, it's never ideal because like you said, we knew Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers were going to get volume with Gardner Minshew. But it's also not like whichever way they go, AOC or Desmond Ridder is a huge quarterback downgrade considering who their starting quarterback was and considering the fact that before AOC got hurt, they had already made the move to him away from Gardner Minshew. So I think Brock Bowers is very much so still in play because of the tight end position and how much upside he brings. This week, no teams on bye. If you want to play it safe and get away from Jacoby Myers, I think you can, but I'm really not all that worried about him. I still think he is going to get a ton of volume, still going to prop him up. He gets a lot of shorter targets too, so I think those guys could still elevate Jacoby Myers to what he's been. Outside of those two, though, I don't really want to do the Raiders, especially this week against the Chiefs. So yeah, on Black Friday, I know you're going to be watching that game, but I don't want to start a whole bunch of them.
It is kind of a shorter week. They play on Friday against Kansas City. We'll get into that game later on in the week on this show. But for now, a quarterback change is afoot in Las Vegas. The stash is done for the year. We will see. I was going to say, is he just the stash? Because Aiden O'Connell also has kind of a weird, looks like it's been drawn in with a pencil kind of mustache too. Definitely different vibes, but it's similar
like a 1920s style mustache.
Yeah, it is. It's very much like, he's like, I'm going to quarterback this team here, Sherry. Like, that's kind of the mustache that he has for Aiden O'Connell. We'll see whether it's him or Desmond Ridder, who I don't think has a mustache at all. So he needs to get with the times there to be the quarterback in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
All right. Let's turn our focus to what we saw over the weekend. It is time for Fantasy Heroes presented by Subway. Taking a look at the top scorers for the week. Still one game left to be played on Monday night. It is the Har Bowl, I guess as they're calling it. It's SoFi Stadium. But in the meantime, Jaden Daniels with a nice bounce-back game. got you over 30 points, 275 pass yards, a pair of passing touchdowns, also 74 rushing yards and a score on the ground. Saquon Barkley just went ham. 255 rushing yards, a pair of touchdowns, 4 catches for 47 yards, 46.2 points. Funny side note to that, Saquon Barkley yesterday had more yards all by himself than the entire Giants offense.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm not poking for the Rams. I'm poking for the Giants. It's not about your team. Like, your team they were standing on the field when it happened, but it's not about them. It's fine.
Fair enough.
If it makes you feel any better, Josh Jacobs scored 3 touchdowns against my team. All right, you feel better? Yeah.
No.
There. Jordan Addison, 8 catches, $162 and a touchdown. That was 30.2 points. Trey McBride, 12 for 133. 25.3 right there. Will Lutz made 5 field goals and a pair of extra points, good for 21. And the Cowboys defense, I think we had this going the other way. We were all like, hey, start the Commanders defense against the Cowboys. Apparently it was start the Cowboys defense against the Commanders. 4 sacks, 3 takeaways, and a couple of touchdowns. That was good for 22. So those were some of the overall fantasy heroes for the week. Now here's a little bit of a look at the weather closer to you. Who was your own personal fantasy hero this week, Laquan?
Jahmyr Gibbs, man, he's just simply electric, man. I'm so happy that I was able to take the chance on him in the summer, getting him in the back in that first round, because he's honestly just been electric all season long. He's really taken the mantle as that RB1 back there, having more snaps than David Montgomery. But, man, only 3 games this season, he has had less than 15 fantasy points, double digits every single week. And it's like Jahmyr Gibbs is probably one of the safest, if not best, summer picks in the first round out of those running backs. So when we look at the top 10 running backs currently right now, not many of them were drafted in the first round. I think it was only Breece Hall. So Jahmyr Gibbs, man, going into next year, I don't see how his stock doesn't just move all the way up into the top 5 picks of fantasy, because he's just simply just been more electric than most of the running backs that we've taken early in those first rounds.
I mean, it's wild. Both he and David Montgomery have paid off on their ADP. Yeah. I mean, I was drafting Montgomery because I'm like, he's going to be cheaper and give you similar production, but also Gibbs in the first round turns out to be the correct answer as well. Both of them now sitting in the top 12. So thank you for that, Ben Johnson. We are grateful. And look, this only makes sense, Florida. You have been the biggest Jaden Daniels stan on this show. And so it was nice to see him come back to life again this week.
Yeah, exactly that. And on the Lions running backs, if anyone next summer says they're going to eat off of each other's plate, let's just disregard them or whatever they're going to do.
And there's a lot of food there for them.
We're going to hear it. Someone's going to say it. But Jaden Daniels was electric yesterday. 275 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And what I love is he was running more. And that was the hope coming into this game. Not only was the matchup favorable for him to run against the Cowboys, but the hope was that with the mini bye, maybe the rib injury was behind him. And watching this game very closely, it seems like the rib injury is behind him. And I know there'll be Adam Rank is going to go on Fantasy Live or something and be like, it was another late game touchdown that shouldn't have counted. He was already at over 20 fantasy points before that Terry McLaurin touchdown, which I admit probably shouldn't have been a touchdown. But yeah, I went on Fantasy Live last week and said he's going to give you his best fantasy game in 2 months. Not only did he do that, he gave you his best fantasy game of the season so far. So it's a nice reminder that Jaden Daniels is still awesome. He is still a really good fantasy option. And if you have him, you could continue starting him moving forward.
By the way, on that Terry McLaurin touchdown, he was lined up on the right side. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. That's all.
Come on, Cliff.
My fantasy hero this week is Bucky Irving, because it looks like the takeover in that backfield in Tampa might be fully complete. And I say that sort of with the caveat that, Rachaad White's still going to get his. The Bucs with 4 rushing touchdowns against the Giants. Irving had 1, Rachaad White had 1, Baker Mayfield had 1, Sean Tucker came out of nowhere and had 1. By the way, shout out to Baker for blocking downfield on this big play by Bucky Irving there. But look, 12 carries for 87 yards. He had another 6 catches in the ball game for 64 yards. He does look like the running back of record there in Tampa Bay. And the Bucs are still going to get Rachaad White involved, but it is clear that Irving has been the better of the 2 running backs all season long. And I think that means he's going to continue to get more opportunities there. The schedule down the stretch, there are some really nice games. I mean, they got the Panthers next week. They've got the Raiders in a couple of weeks. They have the Cowboys in week 16, and then championship week's another matchup with the Carolina Panthers. So, Irving, if you got him, you should be able to hopefully ride him into the playoffs, and maybe I won't necessarily put the league winner stamp on him, but he's a guy who could be very productive for you.
Come on.
Oh, we're doing it? All right, fine. There it is. League winner stamp on Bucky Irving. We're doing it. Peer pressure sucks.
Heck yeah.
Anyway.
But if he is a league winner, we can clip this and be like, this was before Thanksgiving.
That's true.
Exactly.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. All right. So I guess it's a win-win potentially for me. And if it doesn't work out, I'll be like, I was peer pressured into it by these two guys.
Boom.
They made me do it. There it is. Doing things a little bit different. We're going to do Waiver Wire a little bit early. It is time now for the Waiver Wire presented by YouTube TV. Florio, who should we be looking at heading into week 13?
Yeah, starting with a couple of quarterbacks, there's Russell Wilson there. There is Caleb. Russell gets a great matchup against the Bengals next week. Caleb has played a lot better since they moved on from the OC. Will Levis, don't look now. He is putting up numbers since he's returned, and I still think Drake May brings upside against the Colts. Jaylen Warren has had more and more volume as of late and gets a good matchup. Amir Abdullah, just because right now he is the lone healthy back there. Jeremy McNichols, because Austin Eckler is in concussion protocol, and Brian Robinson also was banged up yesterday. Sean Tucker, Trey Benson, Roshan Johnson, just backup running backs who are getting goal line work or some more carries right now for their teams. And then some pass catchers. Please add Jerry Jeudy already. I want to stop telling you to add him. He has been awesome. Devon Bailey, we're going to talk more about him. Noah Brown had 10 targets yesterday. Demario Douglas continues to provide a really safe floor. Nick Westbrook-Akina, you guys have talked him up a lot, continues to produce. David Moore, also 10 targets yesterday, and then a couple of tight ends, Zach Ertz, Cole Kmet, and I'm not sold on Noah Gray yet, but when you have 4 touchdowns in 2 games, I feel like you need to be included in the Waiver Wire article.
I mean, he's obviously the tight end 1 in Kansas City. I can't imagine what other tight ends in Kansas City they would want to throw the football to when you have a guy like Noah Gray right there. I mean, it's just that simple. Laquan, you have been on the Devon Valet train for a couple of weeks now, so shout out to you for being ahead of the curve. He really is a guy that is starting to get a lot more attention. I mean, Cortland Sutton's been great, but Devon Valet is looking sort of like the number 2 option in that passing game.
Yeah, I mean, look, since the beginning of the season, I kind of looked at his profile, and him and Josh Reynolds are kind of like the big target guys. This dude's 6'5", so he's a huge catch radius, and Bo Nix is taking advantage of that, man. And look, in the games that he played at least 50% or more of the snaps, he's put up double-digit fantasy points. So obviously he's becoming a guy filling in that role with Josh Reynolds on IR, and Bo Nix is hitting him downfield as well. So he has the big playability where the yards per reception are going to be high, get his yards after the catch, where it's going to be in chunks where he might be able to get his fantasy points. So I'm looking more towards the back end of this season where we're getting into the fantasy playoffs, where he could be a valuable flex option if Bo Nix is going to continue on being productive in this Broncos offense.
I mean, Bo Nix has been great, and it's another team with a pretty good schedule down the stretch. I mean, they've got the Browns, the Colts in week 15, the Chargers, not maybe a great matchup in week 16, but in championship week, they are on the road at Cincinnati against a kind of shaky Bengals defense. So some good matchups the rest of the way for Bo Nix and the rest of that Broncos offense right there. So we are not done. We're going to have some of our biggest takeaways coming up from week 12, plus the Jonnu Smith update. Stick around for that and more on the NFL Fantasy Football Show.
God.
Back here on NFL Fantasy Football Show presented by Uber Eats. Time to do our Week 12 takeaways. I sort of switched things up. There's a method to the madness you will understand in just a little bit. So some of the big things that we took away from what we have seen so far this week, understanding still one more game to be played between the Ravens and the Chargers over at SoFi Stadium. But out of what we have seen to this point, Florio, what have you learned?
Like right now, if you were to press like right square X left, R1, R2 left, right, like Saquon Barkley would appear in your fantasy lineup, because every year we get enamored with league winners, but there's always like 1 or 2 cheat code style players where it looks like if you don't have them, good luck. Saquon Barkley is this year's cheat code player. Like last year with CMC. Right now, 32 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, 26 or more in 3 of his last 5. Yesterday, against Laquan's Rams, I'm sorry, he scored the most fantasy points any running back has scored in a game this season. And now look at who he gets the rest of the way. He gets the Ravens, which on paper look like a tough matchup against the run, but they struggle mightily against pass-catching backs. The Panthers are the best matchup a running back could have. Steelers are middle of the pack, but they allow a lot of rushing touchdowns. The Commanders have allowed the most rushing yards and most explosive runs. Good luck against Saquon Barkley. And then the Cowboys, who held him in check a bit the first time they played, but Saquon should be able to run all over them in championship week. Like, yeah, if you run up against Saquon Barkley in the fantasy playoffs, good luck, because you're going to need a massive week to top that fantasy manager.
So, I mean, we talk about guys putting up video game numbers, which is kind of what Saquon is doing right now, to the point that I don't know if you guys saw, they put the backwards hurdle in Madden. You can do it now in the game, apparently. I don't know what combination of buttons you have to press. I feel like you just take your hand and just mash it down on the controller and then somehow it does it or whatever. But you can actually do the backwards hurdle.
If I ever successfully do it to someone, I'm never going to shut up about it. And that's in a video game.
If I had it done on me in Madden, I'm unplugging the game. Like, I'm just turning it off. Like, it'll just.
What if someone did it to you in real life?
Then I retire. I just, I pull up Vontae Davis and I just retire, like right there. Like, that's it. I just hang it up and I'm gonna go.
No.
Like,
I think that's more Antonio Brown style. Just shirt off, like I'm out, man. I'm gone.
Shirt off, and just wave to the crowd on your way to the locker room, and then just get in the car and drive out of the stadium. Like, that's it. That's it. I'm done. I'm absolutely done. The thing I learned this week, last week I came on, I think it was on the Tuesday edition of this show, and I said for guys to drop, I put Jaylen Waddle's name in there because he was at best the 4th option in what has been a mediocre passing game. He wasn't performing much of anything this year. Then on Sunday, Jaylen Waddle went out and had himself an absolute day. I mean, it was scenes for Jaylen Waddle. 9 targets, 8 catches, 144 yards, and a target. I mean, people were saying the Jaylen Waddle legacy game for the Miami Dolphins. I'm not buying it yet. This feels like a one-off so far. To this point, as far as I'm concerned, he still kind of is the number 4 target in what is generally a mediocre passing game. We're still believing that Tyreek Hill is going to have a big blow up somewhere. Devon Achane is getting a ton of targets from Tua Tagovailoa. And then there's Jonnu Smith, who's still a big part of the passing game right now. Throw in the fact that it's not the best schedule down the way, right? They've got the Packers next week. They've got the Jets. They've got the Texans. They have the 49ers. We'll see what shape the 49ers defense is in by the time they meet in week 16. They finish on the road at Cleveland, where it is bound to be cold, possibly snowing, which is never a good thing for Tua Tagovailoa. I think this was the Jaylen Waddle game, and maybe it came because me and other folks out there were saying it was time to part ways with him. I don't see this happening again. So if you stayed the course, you stuck with him, and you started him, and you got this game, good on you. I'm not buying that it happened yet. If it happens again, I am willing to sit here and tell you I was wrong and change my tune and change my attitude. This doesn't feel like a thing that is sustainable. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, Laquan, what have you learned?
Guys, are we really going to make me dye my hair blonde? Because Jonnu Smith is on a tear right now of being a top 5 tight end. Like, guys, like, please don't make me do this. Like, can we like send a text out? Like, can we find some type of way to get to Jonnu and tell him, like, just chill out, man? Because in August, I basically said, if he finishes as a top 5 tight end, I'll dye my hair blonde. So can we like structure these rules and implications of me actually having to do this?
In the last 2 games combined, he has 188 receiving yards and 3 total touchdowns.
Never done in his career.
51.8 fantasy points. I mean, when the week began, he was the tight end. In fact, we have a Jonnu Smith update. Can we put that up there right now? The Jonnu Smith update that we have. He 23.7 fantasy points. Right now, he is the tight end 5 on the season. a grand total of 125.4 points. He is less than 10 points behind Travis Kelce for the number 4 spot. Look, I mean, Cade Otton is not far away. So really, right now, Laquan, you have to be a big Cade Otton fan if you want your hair to stay its natural God-given color. Like, that's what you just need Cade Otton to step up and ball out for the next few weeks. Although, Mike Evans is back, so who knows?
Please, because the fact that he actually has a path.
I think we need to try to get Jonnu to come on so he has the incentive to know to go out and put up numbers to try to get your hair blonde.
He can see the face of the man. See the face of the man he is tormenting right now, and understand that hey, let's humanize this whole story. Let's have Jonnu and Laquan sort of come to an agreement here or something. That would be amazing. Let's get the booking team on that. See if we can make that happen.
This is ridiculous. Like, come on, like Jonnu, just chill out, man. The next game, pick it off.
It went from having 2 stud wide receivers to those 2 fighting for who's going to be second in targets behind Jonnu Smith. Like it is amazing how this has worked out.
I mean, it escalated quickly too. Like it was a couple weeks ago. He was like just barely hanging around the top 12. All of a sudden, he's gotten hot the last 2 games, and now he is in the top 5. I'm trying to look at this. Over the last 2 weeks, the only tight end, and I use tight end advisedly, that has scored more fantasy points than him is Taysom Hill. And that's because Taysom threw some passes. He ran for 3 touchdowns. That's it.
I cannot tell you how much joy this brings me. I'm sorry.
This is sick. This is incredible that it's happening, but also at the same time, it's like, I wish I was wrong, because my wife absolutely hates the idea. Like, she's hoping Jonnu like completely just duds for the rest of the season, because she's even seeing it like, wait, isn't that the guy that's doing really good and he's like top 5? I'm like, oh my God, it is. He's going off today. Like
when he went off yesterday, I started to be like, are we able to have someone come in studio and dye your hair while recording a pod or something like that? Like,
maybe we get maybe there's somebody down in the hair and makeup department that can like work on this for us in the moment that it happens. Okay, Floria, we're making it. We're gonna make some contacts. We're gonna reach out to folks in the hair and makeup department and see if we can.
People actually want to see this. I mean, people want to see this.
Yeah,
this is insane.
Yeah,
literally everyone but you and your wife, I think, want to see it.
Yes, we hate the idea now, and she's mad at me. I said it.
This is the difference between comedy and tragedy. Tragedy is I stubbed my toe. It is very, very painful. Comedy is you having to dye your hair blonde because a tight end went nuclear over the last month of the season. That's how this works.
Oh my God.
Anyway, that is a moment particularly that we may be loving down the stretch. It is also now time for Moments We Love, presented by Barefoot Wine. And look, Mike McDaniel, we enjoy Mike McDaniel. We enjoy his comedy stylings. We enjoy his coaching. We enjoy everything about Mike McDaniel. Sometimes he doesn't really get the love back, but he found a way to shield himself from criticism. Take a look.
Figured you guys would be nicer to me if my daughter was here. All right, ask me anything you want. More questions from you, Mr. Dave.
There you go. Mike McDaniel using his kid as a human shield. I mean, look, at some point, I mean, those of us who are parents, I mean, Laquan, you know this. At some point, you've probably used your kid to, either protect you from something or get out of something. It's the benefit of having a kid.
Oh, I do it all the time, and I got 2 of them to use. So, like, whenever I forget to do something, like take the trash out, load the dishwasher, and she wants to yell at me, I'm like, but the kids are here. Like, you don't want to do that. Look at Layla's cute little face. Don't be mad at me.
See? I mean, I'm sure you could do it a little bit with a dog, Florio, but it's not quite the same. Because people yell at you in front of dogs anyway. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can use the dog to like I gotta get out of here excuse. Like, she's been home alone all day. Got to get back to her. But that's about it. Like, if I brought her around to the bosses, let's say, they're not going to be like, we'll be extra nice to you because your dog's here. But like, you guys walk in holding your kid's hands. They can't be mean to you in that situation.
It's a little harder. Like, you don't want to be mean, to daddy. Like, it's just a little bit of a different situation.
He did the one move. The one move is you got to carry them and act like they're sleepy.
Oh, they're sleepy. They're so tired. It's been a long day for them. It's been hard. Please
don't yell at me.
Be gentle. Please be gentle. Please be nice. Exactly. So shout out to Mike McDaniel, man. Not just a hat rack. He's got some things working upstairs in that brain. So there you go. Anyway, that is Moments We Love, presented by Barefoot Wine. For us, that is it. We are done. We appreciate you hanging out with the NFL Fantasy Football Show, presented by Uber Eats. You know the drill. Tell two friends to tell two friends. Rate, review, and remember, I won't be impressed with technology until I can download food. Be safe, take care of yourselves, and we will talk to you tomorrow.